programs. Some are really well known, some might be new to you. But the thing that really stands out to me is how different they all are. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation anymore.
Yeah, you're right. Generic sales training, that's a thing of the past. These days, it's about finding that perfect program that really clicks with your team and what you're trying to achieve as a company.
Makes sense. So for all the sales leaders out there listening, let's break down a few of these programs and see if they'd be a good fit for your team.
Sure. How about we kick things off with the Certified Professional Salesperson Program? It's from NASP, the National Association of Sales Professionals. They really focus on modernizing sales habits. Oh, and they tap into buyer psychology too.
Okay, so ditching those old school stiff scripts and getting down to actually connecting with clients. I like the sound of that.
It's all about understanding what makes buyers tick. What are they looking for? What are their pain points? Then you tailor your approach to really connect with them on that level.
That makes a lot of sense. Now we also have another program from NASP here, the Certified Professional Sales Leader. I'm guessing this one's for, well, the leaders.
You got it. We're talking sales managers, directors, really anyone who's in charge of guiding the team. It's all about giving them the tools they need, those Fortune 500 leadership skills you hear so much about, things like coaching and mentoring, and really creating a team culture where everyone can succeed.
So training the managers to be better leaders. That trickles down to the entire sales team then.
Absolutely. A good leader makes a huge difference. Motivation, strategy, hitting those targets, all that.
For sure. Now, how about we switch gears and talk about a classic SBN selling from Huthwaite International. Been around for a while, but still super relevant.
Yeah, definitely still holds up. It's a methodology rooted in, behavioral science. Basically, it helps you understand what drives a customer to buy or not buy. And asking the right questions is at the heart of it. Uncover those needs, and then you can present your solution in a way that truly resonates.
So it's strategic selling. Understanding the psychology behind those customer decisions, that's got to be especially important in those complex sales cycles, right? The kind where you really need to dig deep to figure out what the customer really wants.
You nailed it. Guiding the conversation instead of just trying to push a product.
Okay, I'm seeing one here that looks great for salespeople who are just starting out. Rise Up. So the National Retail Federation Foundation.
Oh, yeah. This is a fantastic program for anyone new to retail sales. They cover the essentials like customer service and product knowledge, but they also help with things like building your resume and looking for a job. It's a good jumpstart for your sales career.
I love that they go beyond the sales techniques and actually help people get started on the right foot.
Right. It gives them the basic skills and the confidence they need to succeed in a fast-paced retail environment.
Now, for those companies that are trying to scale up fast, there's scaling sales with sales enablement.
Ah, this one's all about practicality. Tons of strategies, even downloadable templates. They give advice on how to choose the right sales technology, too.
Sounds like it's all about streamlining and really maximizing those efforts, right?
So you got efficiency and leverage. Speaking of leverage, these Challenger programs really caught my eye. The Challenger Trainer and Consultant programs, to be specific.
Those are the ones about training internal experts, right? Like within your company.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of bringing in outside trainers all the time, you're actually equipping your own people to become certified trainers or consultants. They become the experts and then share that knowledge with the rest of your sales force.
That's a great way to build a really unified sales culture. And it's got to be more cost-effective down the line.
You're building internal capacity and expertise. In today's crazy competitive world, that can be a big advantage.
Now, let's talk about a skill that's important everywhere, not just in sales negotiation. The London School of Economics has a negotiating program that seems to really dive deep into this.
This one's not just about basic negotiation tactics. It digs into the psychology of negotiation, the role of emotions, cultural differences, that kind of thing. It helps you navigate those complex social situations to really get the results you want.
Sounds super valuable, not just for closing deals, but just for building better relationships in general, or resolving conflicts.
For sure. Understanding how people behave and then using that knowledge to your advantage in any negotiation, that's what it's all about.
Okay, let's switch gears again this time to inbound marketing. I'm looking at HubSpot's inbound sales training.
This one's perfect if you're trying to attract and engage customers through good content and more personalized outreach. It's very customer-centric.
So building relationships, providing value, and guiding customers through their buying journey instead of those old pushy sales tactics.
Right. It's about becoming a trusted advisor, someone they can really rely on.
Okay, what about Medic? There's a program here called Introduction to Medic by Medic Academy. What's the deal with that one?
It's a whole methodology, stands for metrics, economic buyer, decision criteria, decision process, identify pain, and champion. It's a structured approach to qualifying leads and making sure all your sales efforts are laser focused on the right prospects.
So making sure you're spending your time on customers who are actually likely to buy.
Exactly. It's all about understanding their buying process and matching your sales strategy to it.
Now, I'm seeing one here for people who use the one-page CRM system specifically. It's called the One-Page CRM Sales Academy.
If you're using one-page CRM, this is the program for you. It's all about mastering that system, how to really get the most out of it, managing those relationships, streamlining your workflow, all with the goal of closing more deals. It's hands-on, super practical, and you get a CRM expert certificate when you finish.
So if you're already using one-page CRM, this is a no-brainer.
Totally agree. You've invested in the tool. Now make sure your team knows how to use it to its full potential.
Speaking of tools, anyone using LinkedIn for sales needs the LinkedIn Sales Navigator course.
It's all about using LinkedIn Sales Navigator to its fullest potential. Generate leads, build relationships, get those insights into your target market. It's a goldmine if you know how to use it.
Absolutely. So this is like the training manual for how to mine that gold.
Exactly. They cover it all, identifying key accounts, gathering intel on your competitors, even building your personal brand on LinkedIn.
So it's about making LinkedIn work for you, not just scrolling through your feed, but really using it strategically.
Right on.
Let's finish this section with a free one. Sales Prospecting Advanced Techniques by Sales Scripter. It's on YouTube, so super accessible.
Yep. This is a whole series of videos covering a ton of different prospecting techniques, building rapport, handling objections, closing those deals. It's all there. Great for anyone who's new to prospecting or even those who just want to brush up on their skills.
And the best part is anyone with an internet connection can access it.
Love that. It's a great way to build a solid foundation without breaking the bank.
Okay, so that was a whirlwind tour, but we've only scratched the surface. When we come back, we'll dig into how to choose the right program for your team and, more importantly, how to make that learning stick. Stay with us. Okay, so we just went through a ton of different sales training programs. That was a lot to take in. I bet some of our listeners might be feeling a little overwhelmed right now.
It's easy to get lost in all those choices, that's for sure. But listen, choosing the right program doesn't have to be a headache. It's really just about finding the right fit for your team and your company.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? Where do we even start?
You start by really taking a good look at your team. How are they doing? What are they struggling with in the sales process? Are they having trouble closing deals? Or maybe they're fantastic at building relationships, but they need help figuring out which leads are the good ones.
Got it. So zero in on those pain points. That's where training can make a real difference.
Exactly. Once you know what those challenges are, then you can start matching them up with the programs that are designed to tackle those specific issues. Say your team's having a hard time closing deals. Well, there are programs out there that can help with that, like spin selling, or that certified professional salesperson program we talked about from NLESP. They really hone in on communication skills, understanding the buyer, and becoming a master negotiator.
Yeah, so if your team needs help closing the deal, those programs could be just what they need.
Right. Now, maybe your team is amazing at building relationships, but they just aren't clicking with customers on that deeper level. Programs like HubSpot's inbound sales training or Rise Up, the one we talked about earlier, those could be a better fit. They really emphasize putting the customer first, building trust, and providing value every step of the way.
So it's about making sure the training matches your needs, not just picking something because it sounds cool or trendy.
100%. Now, you've got all these sales leaders listening. What if they're the ones who need a boost? What then?
Well, there are definitely programs out there for them too. We talked about a couple that focus on leadership development. That Certified Professional Sales Leader program from NLESP is one. And there's also the Certified Sales Executive certification from SMEI. That stands for Sales and Marketing Executives International, by the way. Those could really help sales leaders step up their game.
For sure. They go deep into what it takes to lead a team effectively. Everything from coaching and mentoring to creating a culture where everyone's motivated and wants to win. And remember, a strong leader inspires everyone around them.
It's that trickle-down effect.
Okay.
So let's say we've identified the challenges and we've got a list of programs that seem like they might work. What's next?
Now it's time to get down to the practical stuff. Think about your budget. How much can you realistically spend on training, and how much time can you dedicate to it? And then think about your team. How do they learn best? Some programs require a big time commitment, others are more flexible, some are all about hands-on learning and role-playing, others are more lecture-based. You got to find what works for you.
So do your research. See what makes sense for your company and your team. It's about finding that sweet spot.
Exactly. Oh, and one more thing, make sure you check out the reputation of the program provider. You want to make sure you're investing in something legit, something that's backed by experience, good reviews, real results.
So look beyond the marketing. Check out the organization behind it. What's their track record like? What are people saying about them?
Due diligence is key. Okay, so you've done your research, you've picked the perfect program, awesome. But here's the thing, that's just the beginning.
It's like buying a treadmill and then never using it. It just sits there gathering dust.
Exactly. The real work starts after the training. It's got to stick. It's got to translate into action and results.
So how do we bridge that gap? How do we make sure the training actually makes a difference? Because that's what really matters, right?
It's about creating this culture of continuous learning. Training shouldn't be this one-off thing. It's got to be part of your team's everyday life, like it's woven into the fabric of how they operate.
Okay, so how do we do that? What can sales leaders do?
Well, think about how you can bring training into your regular routines. Like during your team meetings, take some time to talk about the key takeaways from the training program. What did they learn? What's working for them? What are they having trouble with?
I like that. Keeps those ideas fresh in their minds, and it turns learning into a team effort.
Totally. And, giving your team access to resources that go along with the training can be super helpful. Like, what if you created this online space where they could find articles, videos, templates, anything that reinforces what they learned in the program?
It's about keeping that learning alive, not just letting it fizzle out after the training is over.
Right. And hey, don't underestimate your own team. They can learn a lot from each other too. Encourage them to lead discussions about what they're learning. Have them give presentations. Maybe even pair them up with newer salespeople for some mentoring. When you have to explain something to someone else, it really helps you understand it better yourself.
That makes a lot of sense. It turns passive learning into something much more active.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about role playing. I know it can feel a little awkward sometimes, but it's such a great way to bridge that gap between theory and actually doing it.
It's like practice for the real thing.
Totally. It gives them this safe space to try out those new techniques, get comfortable with them before they have to use them in real sales conversations with real clients. Takes the pressure off.
It's like a dress rehearsal for those high-stakes interactions.
And the key to making role-playing really effective is to make it as realistic as possible. Use scenarios they might actually encounter in their day-to-day work. The more it feels like the real thing, the more they'll get out of it.
So don't be afraid to get specific. Really dive into those tough scenarios they might face.
Right on. Okay, now let's talk about motivation. It's awesome when everyone's super enthusiastic after a training program, but that energy can fade pretty quickly if we're not careful. How do we keep that momentum going? How do we keep them excited about using what they learned?
Celebrating wins is huge. When someone uses something they learned in training to close a deal or just does something really well using a new technique, acknowledge it. Reward it. Make sure they know you're paying attention and that you're proud of them.
Yeah. Positive reinforcement goes such a long way. And it's contagious. When others see their colleagues getting recognized for using the training, it makes them want to step up their game too.
Creates a little healthy competition.
Totally. You could even introduce a leaderboard or track progress towards goals. A little gamification can make things more fun. Keeps everyone engaged.
Love it. And hey, don't forget about good old-fashioned feedback and coaching. Checking in with your team regularly, seeing how they're doing, offering guidance, celebrating their wins, helping them through the rough patches. That personal touch can make all the difference.
It's about creating this environment where learning is valued, where growth is encouraged, where your sales team feels like they have your support every step of the way.
So before we move on, I want to take a step back and talk about the benefits of investing in sales training. We touched on this a bit earlier, but it's worth revisiting. Why are we doing this? What are we hoping to achieve?
It all comes down to 4 key things: better sales performance, stronger relationships with customers, less turnover on your sales team, and lower costs.
Okay, let's break those down a bit. What does better sales performance actually look like? How do we measure that?
Well, it's about seeing real improvement in those key metrics. Are you closing more deals? Are those deals getting bigger? Is it taking less time to close those deals? At the end of the day, it's all about growing your revenue.
And how does training help us build stronger relationships with customers?
When you invest in sales training, you're giving your team the skills to really listen to their customers, figure out what they need, and offer solutions that truly meet those needs. And that builds trust. It creates a positive experience for the customer. And what does that lead to? Loyalty, repeat business, and those valuable referrals, the gold standard.
It's about playing the long game, building those lasting relationships that keep customers coming back for more.
Exactly. Now, let's talk about reducing turnover. Selling can be a tough gig. It's high pressure, it can be emotionally draining. When you show your sales team that you care enough to invest in them, that you're committed to their growth, that makes them want to stick around.
Makes them feel valued. And when your sales team is happy, they're more likely to stay.
Totally. And a stable sales team saves you money in the long run. Less time and money spent on recruiting and training new people.
Okay, now how about that last benefit? Reduced costs. How does training help with that?
Well, think about it. When your sales team is really good at what they do, when they're efficient qualifying leads, closing deals, managing their time, your cost per sale goes down. You're getting more bang for your buck, which is what every business wants.
Makes sense. So those are some big picture benefits of sales training. But what about you, the sales leader, listening to this right now? What can you do? What are some concrete steps you can take to make the most of what we talked about today?
I'd say the first thing to do is go back and really look at the programs we discussed. We'll have all the details in the show notes. And as you're looking through those, think about your team, their strengths, their weaknesses, and those big goals you're working towards.
It's about finding the program that aligns with where you are now and where you want to be.
Exactly. And once you have a few that you're interested in, it's time to do a deep dive. Visit their websites, read what people are saying about them, maybe even reach out to them directly. Get a feel for their style, their approach, their culture.
And don't forget those practical factors: budget, time commitment, how your team learns best. It's got to be a good fit for your organization.
Choosing the right sales training program is a big decision, but it's an exciting one. It's a chance to invest in your team, take your sales game to the next level, and set your business up for some serious growth.
Okay, so in this section, we talked about how to choose the right program, how to make it stick, and why it's worth your time and money. What comes next?
In the final part of our deep dive, we're going to share some specific strategies for making sure that learning doesn't just fade away. How do you make sure your team can really use what they've learned and see those tangible results? We'll cover all that and more, so stay tuned.
Okay, we're back and ready to wrap things up. We've talked about all these great sales training programs, but now it's time to talk about the most important part.
Making it stick, putting all that learning into action.
Exactly. We can't just throw our teams into a training program and expect them to figure it out on their own, right?
Nope, not at all. It's like, you give someone all the ingredients for a gourmet meal, but if they don't know how to cook, they're not going to end up with anything edible.
Love the analogy. So let's break down how to turn those training insights into, well, actual results, tangible results.
Absolutely. And it starts with creating a culture of continuous learning. Training can't be a one-time thing. It's got to be woven into everything your team does. It should be part of their everyday routine.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? That sounds great in theory, but what are some practical steps that sales leaders can take?
I'd say start by thinking about those team meetings you have. Dedicate some time during those meetings to talk about the training. What were some of the key takeaways? What's working for people? What are they struggling with?
Yeah, I like that. It keeps the conversation going. It makes it a team effort. What else can we do to really drive those new skills home?
Giving them access to resources is huge. What if you created this online space where they could find articles, videos, templates, anything that reinforces what they learned during the training?
So we're talking about creating an environment where learning never really stops. It's not just confined to that one training program.
You got it. And one of the best ways to learn something is to teach it to someone else. Encourage your team to lead discussions about what they're learning. Have them do presentations. Pair them up with newer salespeople and have them do some mentoring. That's when things really start to click.
Makes sense. You're taking it from passive learning to something much more active and engaging.
Exactly. And then there's role playing. I know. It can feel a little awkward sometimes, but it's such a powerful way to bridge that gap between theory and practice.
Yeah, it's like practice for the real world, like a dress rehearsal before opening night.
Exactly. It gives them this safe space to try out those new techniques, to get comfortable with them before they have to use them with a real customer.
So it takes some of the pressure off.
Totally. And the key to making role-playing really work is to make it feel real. Use scenarios that your team might actually encounter in their day-to-day jobs. The more it feels like the real thing, the more they'll get out of it.
So make it specific, make it challenging, make it mirror those tough conversations they might have to have with a client.
Absolutely. Now, let's talk about something that's really important: motivation. It's great when everyone's fired up after a training program, but how do we keep that fire burning? How do we keep them excited about using what they learned?
Celebrating wins is so important. When someone uses something they learned in training to close a deal or just does something really well using a new technique, make a big deal out of it. Acknowledge it. Reward it. Let them know you're proud of them.
Positive reinforcement is huge. It shows them that their efforts are paying off. And you know what? It's contagious. When others see their colleagues getting recognized, it motivates them to step up their game too.
Creates a little friendly competition.
Exactly. And you can take that even further. What if you had a leaderboard? Or track progress towards goals? A little gamification can make things more fun. Keeps everyone engaged.
I love that. And of course, we can't forget about good old-fashioned feedback and coaching. Checking in with your team regularly, seeing how they're doing, offering guidance, celebrating those wins, helping them through those inevitable bumps in the road. That personal touch goes a long way.
It really does. It's all about creating this environment where everyone feels supported, where they feel like they can learn and grow and, really reach their full potential.
Well said. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the world of sales training programs, let's leave our listeners with some key takeaways. If you're thinking about investing in sales training, and we really hope you are, here's what you need to remember. First, find a program that's a good fit for your team and your goals. Don't just pick something because it's trendy. Be strategic.
Absolutely. Second, think about those practical things: budget, time commitment, how your team learns best. Find a program that fits your company and your team.
And third, remember that training isn't a one-and-done thing. Make it part of your culture. Create an environment where learning is ongoing. Give your team access to resources. Encourage them to learn from each other.
Yes, yes, yes. Fourth, use role playing. It's such a powerful way to bridge that gap between theory and practice. Make it fun, make it feel real, and make it a regular thing.
And fifth, make sure you celebrate those wins. Provide feedback and coaching. Reinforce those positive behaviors. Recognize progress. And be there to support your team every step of the way.
Because at the end of the day, investing in your sales team is an investment in your company's future. When your sales team is equipped to succeed, everyone benefits.
So go out there, explore those programs we talked about, find the one that's right for you, and commit to making it stick. The results will be worth it.
And that brings us to the end of our deep dive. We hope you enjoyed it. We hope you found it helpful. Remember, the best sales training is the one that's tailored to your specific needs and put into action. So go out there, empower your sales teams, and watch your business soar.